every Hello, everybody. I don't know if there was a bit of a pause. I had to switch my Wi-Fi over at last minute. So if there was, I apologize. Welcome to Energy Shift with Erin, where we talk all things health, wellness, parenting, energy, all the good things, wellness, routine, building a better lifestyle, healthier lifestyle, all of the good things about health, wellness, and keeping yourself sane. So, today we're going to chat about things I wish my parents would have taught me when it comes to health and wellness. Simple things that you can implement this week in order to make your kids' lives and your lives easier in the health and wellness realm. And it doesn't matter if you have a health and wellness goal like fat loss, or excuse me, I'm gonna open this drink up, or if you just want to be a little bit healthier. But I struggled for a long time with my body composition, my health. I have an autoimmune disease that went undiagnosed for a long time. My skin, due to my autoimmune disease, I had cystic acne on my chin and neck for a lot of my early 20s, which of course is not only painful and uncomfortable, it's embarrassing. I had to kind of self-diagnose, and I didn't know that nutrition played such a huge role in your skin, in your mental health, in your overall well-being, in your inflammation, in your gut health, all of these things. I mean, the gut health one makes sense, right? Obviously. But at the same time, I just didn't know how much of an important role it played. So the first thing I want to bring up is how to build a balanced meal. And most people overthink balanced meals when it comes to health and wellness. And I just got back from a walk, so my hair is a little crazy. But most people overthink balanced meals. And you don't need to. I think Pinterest put us into a place where we thought that we had to make these crazy, elaborate, beautiful recipes all the time with all of these ingredients. Social media does that too. And it's really just not true. And nobody has time for that. Nobody has time, or not nobody. Some people have time, but most people don't have time to create elaborate Pinterest style meals every single night of the week, or for meal prep, or for lunches, or these like beautiful like kid lunchable things that you see. Like if you are that kind of mom, kudos, you're amazing. I love that for you. But again, not all moms want to, not all moms have time to. And so I'm going to teach you how to make it simple, okay? So first thing we want to do, and we're going to teach our kids that the purpose of this is to create strength and to create health. We want our kids to believe they're getting stronger, and they will, and they are getting healthier through adequate nutrition. But that we also don't fearmonger food. So we're also allowed to have fun treats as well. So first, we're going to build our meal around protein. Depending on the age of your child, the protein intake will depend on the age of your child. So Google it. Look that up. Somewhere between 3 and 6 ounces of protein for your kid, depending on if they are, the little guys, it's a little bit different. If you have a toddler, getting them to eat basically whatever sometimes can be challenging. So we're talking about kids that are a little bit older that are eating the meals that are put in front of them. We're going to eat more protein so that we can grow strong, have healthy muscle. You can compare it to their favorite superhero, whatever the case may be, right? So protein first. We're going to build our meal around protein. For our kids, probably closer to 4 ounces. For us, 6 to 8 ounces of protein. Chicken, fish, shrimp, lean beef, turkey, all of those things are great protein sources. We can also use cottage cheese. We can use yogurt. Those are good like breakfast or even like side dish protein sources if you need something extra or even a snack. Like if your kiddo doesn't really like animal-based proteins, like they don't like chicken, and you're feeding them more processed proteins like chicken nuggets, maybe you can talk them into a yogurt snack and they're still going to get their protein in that way. A cool thing that you can do, especially for protein, is instead of doing like a sundae bar with ice cream, do a yogurt bar with Greek yogurt. They have all kinds of flavors. So let your kiddo pick whatever flavor they want: strawberry, raspberry, lemon, whatever, vanilla, and then put some toppings out: sliced strawberries, blueberries, blackberries, chocolate chips, coconut, all kinds of fun whole food toppings that will, one, give them the opportunity to kind of make their own choices, which I think is important for kids, to have that autonomy to decide like which healthy things that they want to eat. But at the same time, it's also super fun. They're getting their protein, it's healthy, all of these things are combining together. So the next thing that we're going to choose is a fruit or vegetable. And that kind of segues the yogurt, that makes it easy, right? If your kid has trouble with vegetables, find something that they will eat. Maybe it's carrot sticks. Make it easy. We want to pick a fruit or vegetable. I told a little one once that asparagus was green French fries. She would not eat a vegetable. And I think she was 5 now. She graduated high school, I think. Oh my gosh, it makes me feel crazy and old. The kids grow up so fast. But anyway, so I told her that once, and she was super into asparagus after that. Like she would ask her mom to buy green French fries. So you can make it fun. Make it like, compare it to something like that. This is a green French fry. You can do like sliced yams, same kind of thing. Make them into foods that your kids will enjoy, and find vegetables and fruits that your kids like: apples, dip them in peanut butter, that kind of thing, so that they are getting their nutrients, but it's also fun. You could also do like an apple dip bar. So a little bit of caramel, a little bit of melted chocolate, a little bit of, they make that chocolate hummus, which actually is pretty good. I know it sounds weird, but it's really good. And I think you can get it at like Whole Foods and stuff like that. So these are all ways that we're getting our nutrients in. Kids don't have to worry about their body composition. So they can have an apple slice with some caramel or some chocolate, and put a little bit of nuts on it or something like that. And we're not worried about fat loss. So we're just worried about nutrient intake. I just wish my parents would have taught me about nutrient intake. So we want a fruit or vegetable. Then we want a whole food based carb source. This could be potatoes. It could be rice. It could be pasta. It could be quinoa. It could be sweet potatoes. Any of those work. About a half a cup to a cup of whole food based carbohydrates that your kid likes and that you like, so you don't have to make more than one. You can make like a macaroni and cheese or something like that, and for yourself make it a little bit healthier with some extra protein. You can make a cottage cheese sauce. This is a game changer, you guys. Blend cottage cheese with a little bit of like sharp cheddar, garlic, a little butter, and salt and pepper. It tastes just like macaroni and cheese. It is a game changer. So healthy macaroni and cheese also. So with that, you're going to get protein with the cottage cheese, and then you're going to get your carb source. And then the next thing we want to do is a fat source. So you might have already done that if they added peanut butter, or you added olive oil or something like that to the vegetables that you cooked. But a fat source should be sort of like a garnish, like we sprinkle a little cheese on top, or we dice up some avocados to put on there, or a little dollop of sour cream, something along those lines. So we build protein first, And then we're going to build a fruit or a vegetable. And then we're going to build our carb source. And then we're going to build our fat source. I wish I would have learned how to build a balanced plate. I had no clue when I was growing up. I was dramatically under consuming protein and fiber. And when I hit my mid 30s, that like perimenopause age, I rapidly put on body fat because of this. Number 2 is normalizing exercise. So I grew up in a family that was very musical, which is great, right? It's totally great to have musical talent, and it's really good for brain development. But I did not grow up in a family that prioritized movement. My grandma, thank goodness for her, was a big avid hiker. And so when I would visit them, we would go on hikes. And I think that started me like understanding how important movement was, because they stayed in really good shape for a majority of their lives. Actually, my granddad is still alive, if you can believe it. He's 92. And so they stayed healthy and fit by walking, by hiking, by keeping active. But my parents were not. They did not prioritize exercise. I remember my mom had some like jazzercise DVDs and those kinds of things. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but she never really did them. So I saw them, but it wasn't a priority for me. So going on family walks is the easiest way that you can get movement in. It's also going to improve your mental health. It's going to get you some vitamin D. Most of us are deficient in vitamin D, so that helps with mood. It helps with energy. It helps with sleep. It helps with your circadian rhythm. So meaning that you'll wake up with more energy and go to sleep a lot easier at night. That's for you. And for the kids, just get them outside, burn off some energy, and just be like, this is what we do as a family. We go on walks. It's very, very, very important. Okay. So I wish that was just a thing. You don't have to take them to the gym. If you go to the gym already, I think that's really freaking cool. I wish that at least in my teen years, my mom and dad would have introduced me to weight training. It would have saved me a lot of trouble and grief as I got older and as I developed more weight issues in my late 30s, understanding that I was losing muscle mass and making it easier to put on body fat and harder to get body fat off. So, and there's a sense of empowerment and strength. So especially for females, if you have teenage daughters, get them in a weight training class. It is one of the more empowering things that I've ever done. And it has kept me metabolically stable. It's kept me comfortable in the gym space. I've made a lot of friends doing it. I eat healthier. I live healthier because I want to feel good when I'm at the gym. So if you have younger kids, we go on family walks every night. It's really, really good for you, by the way, to walk after you eat. So after you have dinner, it can help with blood sugar regulation. It can help with insulin resistance. It can help with serotonin and dopamine production. So mental health, clarity. It can help with digestion. There's a lot of things that just going on a 15-20 minute walk after you have dinner. And as it gets hotter in Phoenix, like that's really the only time that you can go on a walk outside, when it gets like dusk time, because it's hot. If you're there, if you're in Northern Arizona, you have a little bit more flexibility, obviously, with that. But anyway, so make that a part of their schedule, like make that a part of their routine. This is what we do as a family. We go on a walk, we have a chat, bike ride. Go roller skating. Let the kids bring their scooters. It doesn't have to just be walking. It can be whatever you want it to be, but getting outside, getting that movement, and allowing it to just be fun. There's a lot of ways that we can start to implement this. And there's also like places that have indoor tracks to use when it's hot outside. I know in the valley, Google it. The trampoline parks do deals. So that might be a good opportunity to get movement with some air conditioning on the inside. Roller skating, ice skating, all of those things. We talked about this a little bit last week, but get your kids moving. We went on adventures, or we did stuff, but it wasn't movement based. And I did not grow up with movement. And I just wish that I would have, because it was really hard for me to understand that as I got into my 20s and 30s. And I really needed to add exercise into my schedule because, one, I needed it for my mental health. I struggled with a lot of anxiety. It really, really helped me with anxiety. But two, obviously, I needed it for my health as I got older. The more we're moving, the healthier we're eating, all of these things obviously is going to help us to be healthier longer into life. Water, hydration. You guys, we talked about this last week. Keeping yourself hydrated. We didn't drink water as kids. I don't know if you guys grew up in the same generation as me. We were like drinking out of the hose. I'm drinking a Coke Zero right now, so don't don't judge me, but we were like drinking water out of a hose. But I don't ever like remember intentionally drinking water in Phoenix in the heat, which is so wild to me. So make sure, and I mentioned this last week, so if you didn't catch this, like take your kids to REI or to Target or to Walmart or wherever and have them pick out their own little water bottle. And especially the little ones, like if they have the ones that like have the strap on them, so it's easier to keep track of. Make sure they're getting hydrated every single day, getting their water in, especially if they're playing outside, especially if they're in the pool. It's going to help with a lot of things, but it can help improve sleep. It can help improve inflammation. It can help, help with appetite suppression if you do have a health and wellness goal. So there's a lot of things that just being hydrated can help with. And here's a thing that you can add to it that's fun: fruit. So maybe your kid doesn't like water, but you can add a little bit of lemon or a little bit of orange or a little bit of cranberry juice or a little bit of cucumber or something along those lines. So you're making like a kitty cocktail is what like my grandparents used to call it. And we'd do like Shirley Temples, but they would water it down. So we're getting our water in. We got a little bit of cherries, and we like remained hydrated. So you could do the same thing, but healthier, because grenadine is just all sugar. So make yourself some like little kitty cocktails with a little bit of juice, a little bit of water, maybe a little bit of sparkling water if your kids are old enough, some fruit in there, put them all in their cup. Make these things fun and exciting. And it's like, this is what we do as a family. We eat balanced meals, we move, we drink our water. And then the next one is rest. I did not know how important that rest was. I had no clue. I like would grind myself to a level of extreme burnout. And I don't know if anybody is there, but understanding burnout. And I got here as a teenager. Nobody taught me about burnout. I like so much pressure to get into college, to get good grades, to make sure that I was performing well, like in the right clubs, all of the things, so that I could get into college and like make sure that my life was set up to be successful later. And I was so burnt out. I was so tired. I barely rested. I barely had downtime, and nobody ever talked to me about that. Nobody ever talked to me about the fact that it was okay to sometimes sleep in, or sometimes just have a movie day, or like I said, go on a walk and just leisurely like enjoy your day, or sit down and read a book for pleasure instead of reading a book for school. If you are over doing schoolwork, putting the phone down, you guys, this one's huge. This wasn't a thing when I did have a phone in high school, but obviously was not anywhere near the capabilities of a smartphone. So, there's this epidemic of kids, teens that are so connected to their smartphone that therapists are telling them not to take them away because it can cause major mental health issues. So, taking time away from the cell phone is huge. And like for me, it would have been TV, or I don't remember what else, like back when I was a teenager, we didn't really have like these devices that we have now. But I wish even in my 20s, somebody would have said, like, Erin, give yourself an hour or two just completely away from your cell phone. Now I have an online job and I spend a lot of time on the computer. Obviously, I spend a lot of time on my phone, obviously. And I feel guilty when I'm not engaged in social media. And I think that if I would have been told or taught that I needed a break from that, I would have done better, or I would do better in my career by giving myself some rest. I struggle with sleep. And especially as I've gotten older, that's a thing that happens to us ladies after the age of 35. We start to struggle with sleep. And so that's something, gosh, I wish that my parents would have told me or taught me about, was like the cycles of life as a female, especially my mom. We're going to get vulnerable here. I don't have a super tight connection with my mom. So I wasn't taught really about like what 20-year-old life was like and what 30-year-old life was like and what was going to happen to me in perimenopause and how stress was going to affect my sleep and how my hormones were going to affect my sleep. We talked about periods and stuff. I think I started my period at 14, but it really was more treated as, and I think we're getting better at this. I really do. And I'm going to tell you why in a minute, but I think we're getting better at being more open about the functions of the female body and just the closeness of the relationship of the parent and the child. So I live in Mexico part of the time and in Arizona the other part of the year. And spring breaks just happened, right? So I noticed that there were a lot of teenagers, probably around the age of like 18, with their friends and with their parents. And I know that they were 18 because they were drinking alcohol. In Mexico, the drinking age legally is 18. Well, and the parents were there and they were cool with it, and everybody's taking selfies together and they're having fun and they're laughing. And I think that there's a different dynamic between the generation of parents that I had, and maybe you're lucky and you didn't have disconnected parents, but I did. I think that the elder millennial generation, Gen Z, and even really going into the millennial generation were raised by more disconnected parents. We're like latchkey kids. We would get in trouble for a lot of things. We were like seen but not heard children, those kinds of mantras. And I think that we as did I say Gen Z, Gen X and millennials have done a better job as parents creating a different bond with our kids. So we can talk about proper alcohol consumption, proper food consumption, exercising correctly, having a good body image, being able to enjoy life together, like have a friendship, but also a respectful like parent-child relationship too. Or like in my generation, I grew up with like what I say goes all the time, but it created this like sense of fear and this sense of guilt. And I don't see that in the younger generation. So I really think that the elder millennial parents, the millennial parents, and the Gen X parents are doing a great job of communicating with their kids and putting them into a position where they can talk to them. They can talk to them about hard things. We're not embarrassed of our cycle. We're not embarrassed of like understanding how our bodies are working or developing, or why we're gaining weight, or why we need to eat more protein, or why we need to drink more water, or why we need to go on walks. Like, having these open and honest conversations are so cool and so effective. And I think you guys are doing it. I really do. I was telling my husband at dinner, because I'm watching this. They're probably around our age. I'm 42, with their teenage daughters, and they're just having the best time. Like, they're allowed to order alcohol, and they're allowed, like, the girls are outside taking selfies by the beach, and the parents join them. And it just was a different dynamic. Like, I would never have gone on spring break with my parents. It would have been me and my 3 besties, like, totally going out of control, over consuming alcohol. Like, the thought of going on vacation with my parents would have horrified me, or like spring break. So having these open and honest conversations about health and wellness, about balanced meals, about movement, about weight training, it's huge, especially for women. If I would have known then what I know now about weight training, we start to lose muscle at 30. And if you don't start prioritizing resistance training in some capacity in your late 20s and early 30s, you are going to lose muscle every single year, which is why a lot of women who enter perimenopause age, 35 and older, start to rapidly gain body fat, because we become insulin resistant. We don't have enough metabolic tissue. But nobody taught us this. Nobody told us that we needed to do this. And so if I would have known then what I know now, I could have made more balanced meals. I could have made more intentional choices. And no, we're not going to shame wanting a cookie. So let's say you have a balanced meal. We're making grilled chicken with some roasted potatoes and air fried asparagus. The asparagus has a little bit of olive oil on it, so there's your balanced plate. And then we are going to have a crumble cookie for dessert. Balanced treat, protein, fiber, carbs, and fat. If we just have this knowledge, we just have this conversation. Imagine, like, if you would have just known to eat that way. One, a lot of us would be in a healthier position. 2, we wouldn't struggle with what to eat and how to feed our families correctly. You can do crock pot meals. I have a crock pot meal guide, you guys, that is all high protein and high fiber. If you need it, it's totally free. Just shoot me a message, shoot me a follow first, and then shoot me a message, and I will get that over to you. The only reason why the follow, because Facebook hides messages for people that aren't friends or are following me. So those are the things that I really wish that my parents would have taught me about health and wellness. I wish I would have had a more open communication with them about my health goals, about my body composition goals, what I wanted to achieve with I wanted to be in sports. They were like kind of against it. Hear your kids out. Let them have fun with healthy eating, let them have fun with movement, but at the same time, prioritize it as part of your life. So I'll leave you with this. My old trainer who's in Flagstaff, Jesse Coddington, he's great. If you're in Flag and you need a coach, his gym is amazing. So I met him, it was probably 10 years ago now, maybe even 12 years ago. And he had they had 2 kids. Trinity was probably 3 and Justice was like baby, like in an infant carrier. So I worked with him for 10 years and I watched Justice grow up. And him and I used to deadlift together in the gym. And the thing is for him, that was just a part of life. He did not at all think that anybody else did not deadlift. Any other kids did not deadlift. It was like, it's just so cute. And so there's this thing called a wall ball. And if you go to a CrossFit gym, I don't know if you've ever seen this, but you might see a target on the wall, and there's this exercise called wall ball shots. And so with wall ball shots, you like do a squat and you throw the ball and you catch it. Well, Justice had recognized that their home did not have a wall ball target. So he took it upon himself to get out. I don't remember how old he was at this point. I'm guessing like 5 or 6. Get out the step ladder, go up on the wall, and draw on the wall ball. And it's funny. I mean, of course, like it's annoying. The kid drew on the wall, but you can't be mad at it because he's like, you're supposed to have, this is part of life, you're supposed to have a wall ball. And I think that if we do more about making sure our kids have the knowledge and the understanding, and like that wellness is just a part of who we are, you will not see them struggle as much later in life. And that's the goal, right? We want our kids to be happy, we want them to be healthy, and we want them to struggle less with their health and wellness as they grow older. I have a question. Do you know how to train people with a herniated disc? Yes. So I work with all kinds of populations. Primarily, I work with people with high inflammatory conditions, injuries, illness, all kinds of stuff. That has become my specialty because I actually don't even know why. It just sort of happened to be that way. I started working with a population of people who would come to me and they're like, I just had knee surgery, so I need training for knee surgery. Or I had a client who lost her leg due to cancer and she needed training based on that. I worked with a 75-year-old woman whose doctor told her she could not put on muscle, all of these things. So yes, I have worked with people with herniated discs, back issues. What we do for medical conditions or injuries is make sure that we're cleared by your doctor, as well as make sure that your PT and or your doctor who, if you had surgery, I'm not sure if you have had surgery or not. But we will make sure that we go through the medical professional to ensure that we're not doing movements that are going to exacerbate the injury. But yeah, I have helped people lose body fat with every injury that you can think of: post-surgery, PCOS, perimenopause, menopause, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, insulin resistance, all of the above. I have zero doubt they call me the forever fat loss coach because I tend to attract people who have had a lot of struggles with losing body fat and prioritizing their health because their doctors kind of dismiss them. So yeah, if you have any questions, please let me know. I have no doubt that even with the herniated discs, we can, everything I do is online. Yeah. So I don't have a location. I'm half in Mexico and half in Arizona. So I do a lot of work via Zoom. I do a lot of work via app. I have a couple of different apps. I look at people's exact food intake to identify any inflammatory triggers. A lot of times women come to me highly inflamed as well, which is why they can't lose body fat. So we work on that as well. And we work on building muscle around injuries. So yeah, I definitely can do that. If you're interested in chatting more, feel free to shoot me a follow and a DM. I am not a pressure salesperson. I want to work with the right people. I just want to help. And if I can give you some advice without I just lost my brain there. If I can give you some advice that will help you right away, I'm happy to do that as well. But yeah, it's super convenient. And most of my clients are highly active, highly performing, very, 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 very busy individuals. And so we have actually found that online training works a lot better because we can fit their health and wellness goals into their exact life. And we can plan for meals out, we can plan for vacations, we can program hotel gym workouts. We shift the program to fit the individual's life instead of just having a program that you're supposed to follow no matter what, which they just don't work that way. So anyway, I hope that this was helpful. I hope that you guys all have a great day. I love doing the energy shifts. If you don't follow me, I would love a follow on social media. I share all kinds of free resources and help for people with fat loss resistance issues, people in perimenopause, people with injuries. I post a lot of things. So if there's something that you can't find, message me. I probably have it. I have recipe guides. We have a whole recipe group. We got a ton of resources for health and wellness. So just hit me up. I would be happy to chat with you. And I hope you guys all have a fantastic day.